Dear friends, welcome. The doctors could not heal her. 20 years of treatments could not heal her. Her disability never went away. Yet today she says she is finally free. How can someone who cannot walk say they are free? The answer lies in one timeless teaching of Ramana Maharshi. This is the story of little Ira, and it's a lesson every one of us can learn. The rain had just stopped when little Ira ran barefoot to the garden, laughing as butterflies danced around the flowers. She was 5 years old, the only daughter of parents who believed the world had gifted them a miracle. Their home was filled with laughter. Every evening, her father would lift her onto his shoulders and pretend to be a mighty elephant while her mother watched from the kitchen, smiling as the house echoed with innocent joy. Life felt perfect. No one imagined that everything was about to change. One evening, Ira quietly walked to her mother with tears in her eyes. Mom, my back hurts. At first, they thought it was nothing more than a small injury from playing, but the pain does not go away. Instead, it grew worse. Some nights Ira cried herself to sleep while her parents sat beside her helpless. Her father would gently rub her back. Her mother would whisper, everything will be okay. Though deep inside, fear had already entered their hearts. After visiting several doctors, the family finally received devastating news. The scans revealed a tumor growing on Ira's spine. The room fell silent. Her mother could not hold back her tears. Her father stood frozen, staring at the medical report as if refusing to believe what he had just heard. How could this happen to their little girl? Days turned into weeks as they traveled from one hospital to another searching for hope. Some doctors hesitated, others said the surgery would be risky. Finally, one surgeon agreed to perform the operation. For the first time in weeks, Ira's parents felt a small ray of hope. The day of a surgery felt endless. Outside the operation room, her parents prayed without stopping. Hours later, the doctors walked out. The surgery was successful. Those words felt like a miracle. Months passed. Ira rested patiently, waiting for the day she could play again. Then came the morning everyone had been waiting for. Her mother held her hand. Come, sweetheart, let's try to stand. Ira smiled. She slowly moved toward the edge of a bed. She placed her feet on the floor. She tried to stand. Nothing happened. She tried again, still nothing. Her legs refused to move. Confusion turned into fear. Fear became panic. Mama, why can't I walk? Her mother burst into tears. Her father rushed forward, lifting Ira into his arms while trying to hide his own heartbreak. They immediately searched for the surgeon, hospital after hospital, phone call after phone call. Finally, they learned that the doctor had moved to another city. There were no answers, no explanation, only silence. Years passed in hospitals instead of playgrounds. Physiotherapy, exercises, medicines all resulted in disappointment. Nothing changed. Eventually, the doctors gently told the family something they had feared for years. Ira may never walk again. Those words could have broken anyone, but somehow they did not break Ira. Growing up was not easy. She watched her classmates run. She watched friends climbing stairs without thinking. She watched people stare at her wheelchair before looking away. Some spoke with pity, others with sympathy. A few avoided her completely. There were days she cried alone, days she wondered, why me? But every morning she made a choice she would continue. She studied harder than anyone expected. Her disability became a challenge. not an excuse. When others doubted her, she kept learning. When life becomes difficult, she became stronger. Years later, Ira graduated with an engineering degree. The little girl who had once been told what she would never do had become an engineer. Soon after, she found a job. Her parents cried once again. This time, they were tears of pride. Yet success did not erase every wound. Some nights were painfully quiet. Watching others walk freely still hurt. Some mornings she woke with sadness she could not explain. The body carried its limitations, the mind carried invisible burdens. One afternoon, while browsing through a small bookstore, a simple title caught her attention: Be as You Are. It was a book containing the teachings of Ramana Maharshi. She bought it without knowing that a single book would completely transform her life. As she read, one teaching stayed with her. Whenever a painful thought appeared, Raman Maharshi suggested asking, To whom has this thought come? The answer would naturally arise to me. Then came the deeper question, Who am I? At first, Ira did not understand, but she continued reading. She began practicing self inquiry every morning. She sat quietly in silence. She observed her thoughts instead of fighting them. Whenever depression appeared, instead of saying, I am depressed, she gently asked, Who is depressed? The mind answered, I am. Again she asked, Who is this I? For a few moments, the sadness would lose its grip. The thoughts were still there, the disability was still there, but something deeper remained untouched. Little by little, she stopped resisting life. She stopped comparing herself with others. She stopped asking, Why did this happen to me? Instead, she discovered peace in simply being. Years passed, nothing miraculous happened to her body. She still used her wheelchair. She still needed assistance in many situations. But something extraordinary had happened within. The suffering that once consumed her had slowly disappeared. People who met Ira often wondered how someone living with such a difficult condition could smile so sincerely. One colleague finally asked, How are you always so peaceful? Ira smiled gently. The body has a disability, she replied, but my peace does not. She had discovered something no surgery could give and no illness could take away. Raman Maharshi once taught that pain belongs to the body, but suffering grows from the mind's identification with it. Ira understood this is not as an idea, but as a lived experience. Her circumstances never changed, her understanding did, and that changed everything. It does not always give us justice, answers, or happy endings. Some wounds remain, some dreams change forever, but Raman Maharshi reminds us that beyond every thought, every fear, and every limitation, there is unchanging awareness that is already whole. When we sincerely ask, Who am I? We begin to discover a peace that circumstances cannot create and cannot destroy. Ira never walked again, but in discovering her true nature, she found a freedom greater than walking. Sometimes the greatest miracle is not that life changes, is that we do. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who may be going through a similar phases of life. Subscribe for more educational videos exploring timeless wisdom, self inquiry, and practical ways to cultivate peace at every stage of life. As narrated by me, Krisha. Thank you for watching.